Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to Beyond the Book Media's Indie Author Showcase. We are now live on November 18th at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I am so excited because I am going to be interviewing Mr. Terrance Bonner himself. I'm your host, Ramisha Nicole, and I'm one of the writing coaches here for Beyond the Book Media. And again, welcome to our Indie Author Showcase. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up Terrance himself. Hi, Terrance, and welcome. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited to have you. We are so, again, thank you so much for being a part of our Indie Author Showcase here at Beyond the Book Media. So, before we get started and talking about this amazing workbook that you have created, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and where you're from.
Thank you so much again. So, of course, I am Terrance Bonner. Like she said, I am a licensed massage therapist, an esthetician, as well as an educator for the industry as well. And of course, I am located in Columbus, Mississippi. And I'm again just excited to be here. I have been in the industry for going on 11 years now. I've traveled around the world, including Thailand twice to train, and just of giving back through the workbook.
Yes. Now we did have a little breakup there. So just go ahead and repeat that last part for us again. We know that you went to Thailand. So go ahead and repeat that last part for us one more time.
Yes, thank you. So sorry. So, I traveled around the world, including Thailand twice to train. And again, with the workbook, just, excited to give back through my workbook.
Yes, yes. Listen, I am sure that you enjoyed your time in Thailand. That is definitely on my travel
Yeah.
bucket list. And for those of you who are tuning in, let us know where you're coming in from. Again, welcome to our Indie Author Showcase. I'm your host, Ramisha Nicole, and I'm interviewing Mr. Terrance Bonner himself. So, Terrance, tell us about this workbook. What is it all about? What does it encompass? What's it all about?
So the workbook again is a workbook. I want to make that clear. It's a great business building workbook where you can read it, but at the same time you will have to put your thoughts on paper to get that out, which is what you are looking for. So when I began to write, I wrote the book during COVID because so many people was having to close only because their business wasn't set up correctly. So I wanted to write a book to where if this happens again, or you just wanted to succeed in your business, this book would give you every step that you would need in order to open your business correctly. But first, talk about your core values. My core values,
Mm,
which are my foundation, that helped me actually through the pandemic myself because I was lost because I'm definitely a hands-on type person. And when this
mhm,
happened, I couldn't do anything. I had no control over anything. We were closed for 2 months and, it was depressing. But
mm,
I held on to those core values, one being faith, that, this is just an obstacle. This is just something, a stumbling block that I can definitely get over because of those core values. So it begins with the core values and go on to your business entity to, if you're looking for your bank or banker, your accountant, what questions to ask your banker, what questions to ask your accountant.
mm.
We have all been through interviews to where we're being interviewed, but interview that accountant, interview that banker because you're looking to do business with them. Hey, have you dealt with somebody within my industry? I'm a real estate agent, or I'm a massage therapist, or I am a boutique owner. Have you had someone within my profession to help me? How can you help me? So you interview them. So all those kind of questions are in there. Talking about cost per service, which is a huge thing no matter what industry you're in. And I really want
Uh-huh.
to speak on that in the book only because we have a lot of people that see other business and we do the same thing. And
Mhm.
we say, oh, well, this person is charging $100, so I'm gonna charge $100. But you can't look at it that way. You have to look at your overhead, all of your expenses to calculate your cost per service. So one that you can pay yourself, because if you're in
Mhm.
business, you want to pay yourself. If you're not paying yourself, that means you have a hobby, you don't have a business. So you want to make sure that you're paying yourself so
Mhm.
that everything else can flow as well. So you're paying yourself, you're paying your bills, and most, of course, you're going to have your business and you still have your home, whether that's a mortgage, whether that's rent,
Yeah.
whatever. You still have, other bills, your car, or you have all these other things that you do need to pay for as well. So again, you want to make sure your cost per service is correct. So again, one, that you're paying yourself and that you can pay your bills, and again, you can stay afloat. So those are some of the things
Yeah.
that are in the book.
I love that. And I like how you broke it down, basically giving the business owner different categories and tools of how to finagle and correctly structure their business, because you're basically solving a problem of something that happened during COVID.
Mhm.
Yes. Oh, and I see Crystal Newton in the comments says, ouch, if you're not paying yourself, you have an expensive hobby,
Yeah.
right? But I like how you literally gave a breakdown of what business owners need. And it's a workbook that can be used in different seasons, or something that sounds like could possibly use quarterly. And I also like how you gave questions to interview your CPA.
Yes.
Have you worked with a certain in people in my industry who make a certain amount, because you don't want to just have any type of CPA if they've never dealt with someone who's brought in, $500,000 worth of revenue. If they've never worked with someone like that, then that's not the type of person you want to have on your team. I love how you're equipping business owners on how to have a solid team outside of the business, as well as having solid systems inside of the business. And it all started because of where you were during COVID-19. So tell us a little bit more about the business and how your book, now that you've written the workbook, how it's actually helped your business now on the other side.
So I start with, when I chose my accountant, and I love my accountant. And you want to have someone like my accountant because even though it may have been things to where I didn't want to do it this way or that way, I remember in the beginning, that's why I say you want to make sure you pay yourself and pay yourself correctly. Um, she would tell me, you really need to do a W-2, you pay yourself as an employee. Well, I didn't want to listen. For 2 years, I didn't want to listen. So I would just do a draw. I would write a $500 check here, 500 check there. But what she was trying to get me to see was, even if I say, for instance, I did a W-2 and taxes would have been taken out, I could possibly either break even or get a refund or whatever case may be. I may not have to would have had to pay taxes. But the way I was doing it, I had to pay thousands and thousands of dollars at the end of the year. So those first 2 years, I learned my lesson, and I began to really listen to my accountant, what she was telling me. And so I began to pay myself correctly, where I was, as an employee, even though it's my business, it's your
Right.
business, but you're paying yourself correctly. And again, it just depends on how you have your setup. I talk about the different pros and cons of sole proprietor, LLC, partnership, C corp, S corp. I talk about all of that in the book, breaking it down, because we could be doing the same thing, but you may say, I want to do my business this way or
Yeah.
that way. I started out with an LLC, and once I began to have employees, we began to change that, for tax purposes, and with S corp. But again, having an accountant, she began to explain to me when those things began to happen. Hey, you could do it this way. This will help you as far as this end of it. But again, having that initial consultation, saying, hey,
Mm.
this is what I want to do. Maybe
Yeah.
have you work with someone like who myself within the industry. How can you help me, prepare my business? Will you, she has been there to where, I want to do something that was what she calls unethical. And because she goes by the book, she would not allow
Mhm.
me to do that. And
Yeah,
she,
someone who's going to make you walk in integrity in your business.
yes.
Yes. Yes, I love that.
Yes, and she straight up told me, she said, now you can do this, but if you decide to do this, I can no longer be your accountant. And
Wow.
the way she has her business set up, it just, I mean, everything is so easy. It just flows with receipts and those type of things. It goes to a app, and it's just there. versus years past before I was just, you got to keep all your receipts and then you're trying to find all your receipts at the end of the year and all of that. But she just made it really, really easy as a client. So, having that right person, banker, all of that, to where you can call somebody and say, hey, what about this or what about that? Versus you just kind of, every time you go somewhere, you talk to somebody different and they give you that advice or that advice. So,
Yes. So
yeah.
let's look at what the comments. Crystal says solid teams outside and solid systems inside, which is basically what it sounds like your workbook is allowing entrepreneurs to have. Nikki J says, yes, walking in integrity is so important. Yes, it is, especially with running a business, especially if it's a kingdom business, right? And
Yes.
then Crystal also says CPA that makes you walk in integrity. So I know what inspired you because you were going through a hard time. We know how it's actually helped with your business because you got a CPA who was like, no, we're not doing that. You have someone that is literally helping you manage your books the
Yeah.
correct way, your financials the correct way. Who would you say this book is for? If you could pinpoint maybe one to two type of people, would it be general for entrepreneurs, or is there a specific entrepreneur who this workbook would be for?
I would say that this is for any entrepreneur. Because, of course, I'm in the wellness industry. Some of the examples are geared towards my industry. But
Okay.
again, everybody needs their own entity. Well, again, whether that's sole proprietor LLC, everybody needs their own banker. I talk about making sure that your accounts are separate too, from personal from business, because a lot of people
Yes.
will go in and they would just operate in their personal account, which you do not want to do. You want to keep your personal personal and your business business. You want to keep the two separate. So I talk about that as well. But this book is for any entrepreneur, from someone that is starting out to someone that maybe have been in business for 20 years. Something else that I talk about in the book is PR. I've been published in ABC, NBC, different magazines, my profession magazines, and just different magazines. And I'm honest about it. Yeah, I have paid people to do it, but at the same time, I have done a lot of things on my own. So in the workbook, I actually have templates to where it shows you how you can do it yourself, not necessarily have to pay somebody. It's great because they may, it's about relationships. The PR person may
Yes.
have a relationship with this magazine, that TV station, this editor, but at the same time, you can build those relationships too. It's a lot of work, but I do show you how to do it yourself. So again, it ranges from somebody that's been in business. How can I recreate my business? How can I be more visible? I give you steps of how to do that, to be seen in whatever magazine or in your industry. Also talking about award-winning business, steps of how to do that, because that has brought a lot of attention to my business, as well as monetary, as well monetizing on top of that, the awards as well. So we have won over 22 awards in
Wow.
almost 7 years. So I talk about that and how, winning the first award in 2015 and going from there. So since 2015, we have won over 22 awards.
Wow. So you are literally providing what it sounds like a blueprint to running a successful business, from
Yeah.
the teams that you hire to the systems that you have, how to get recognition for your business, how to hire, how to outsource. You are providing a step by step playbook for entrepreneurs, even if you've been in business 20 years, because what it sounds like is you're kind of stretching them to get and think outside of the box and to do things differently so that you can get different results.
Yes, I always think outside the box. One
Yes.
thing about the industry that I'm in, I am the minority. I'm a male in a female, actually double female oriented field. Massage therapist and esthetician, is kind of rare. So I had to find my own place and make my own lanes, because at one point, becoming into the industry, nobody would hire me. Nobody would hire
Mm.
me. Doors were closed. I heard no, no, no. So I had to do what I had to do. And I talk about those things. That goes back to my core values. And what I learned when I began to write the book was I found actually my two core values at a very young age, 4 and 5 years old.
What are
And
those
it was
core
crazy.
values?
So my first core value is faith, and the second one is determination.
Mm,
And I'll kind of speak on that. So at 4 years old, my mom was a procrastinator, and she would leave home late taking me to daycare. And this
mm,
particular morning, she was running late. My dad would tell her all the time, "Look, you need to leave early so you can get to work on time. You can drop, Terrance off on time." La la la. She was late. So this particular morning, she was late again. We left the house. She's rushing down the road, and we were on this particular road, and a train was coming. And
mm,
she wanted to beat the train, but she saw that she couldn't beat the train. So by the time we made it to the track, she just turned the wheel really hard. Thank God, we were still here. I'm still here. And
mm,
by the time she opened her eyes, the car was headed in the opposite direction. So at the age
mm.
of 4, I knew my life was predestined for our life was predestined for more because my life didn't
Yeah.
end that day at 4 years. Now, fast forward a year later, she learned her lesson and she began to leave home early. So I was 5 years old. I didn't understand, someone getting older, going to my babysitter. I understand that she was getting older and that she couldn't take care of me like she did before because I'm more active at 5 years old. So I
Mhm.
was taken from her and placed in another setting with a new babysitter, which I hated. I hated at 5 years old. I loved my old babysitter chicken and dumplings. I talk about it in the book. I
Yes,
loved,
those childhood memories that carry us.
yes, I loved her chicken and dumplings, and it was just everything was wrong. Where it was just everything wrong. So I took it upon myself to map out my way back to her. And so one day I got enough courage and determination to wait till that babysitter went to sleep as she thought I was asleep. I snuck out the door and I walked. I think it was 5 miles. When my book came out, my dad and my sister walked with me from that place to where I think it was about 5 miles. I walked at 5 years old
Wow.
from that particular place back to my old babysitter's house because I was determined to get back to her because I
You
missed
were
her.
determined to get there.
I was determined to get there. And thank God I didn't know anything about being kidnapped. He being hit by a car. I didn't want to worry about anything.
Yeah.
When I knocked on the door, she thought my mom was just in a rush, and that she forgot that she switched babysitters. So she just welcomed me on in the house. I went back normally doing what I normally do. She began to cook my chicken and dumplings like I like them, and
Wow.
regular day for her. But when time come around, my mom, the lady woke up and was like, "Oh my God, he's gone." So they began to call everybody like, "Oh my God, have anybody seen?" La la la. So it was crazy because my bus driver later on was one of the ones he said he had saw me. I think I was in grade school and he was the bus driver at the time. Of course, 5 years old, I didn't know, but he was like, "Yeah, I think I saw a little boy walking,
Wow.
whatever." But they eventually found me,
They
and
eventually found you. Yeah, and we're so grateful that they did. And I know that, we could go on and on with this story, but I know we're kind of crunched for time because we do have another interview after this. But you talked about that determination and you talked about that faith and you knew that you were here for a purpose. Now, as we begin to bring this interview to a close, what is one lesson that you want entrepreneurs to who are going to purchase your workbook? What is one key takeaway that you want them to learn? And I'm going to paste that the link on how they can find that in the chat. But what is one lesson that you want them to take away after working through your workbook?
one lesson I want you to take away is no matter what anyone says, follow your heart.
Mm,
Follow your heart because for me, even from close family members, well, I don't know about that. Maybe you should do this
mm,
or maybe you should do that, but that's not what I was called to do. What
right.
I'm doing, I was definitely called, and
Yeah.
it just shows every day that the calling of on my life and everybody's life. If you follow it and listen to you, because they didn't give it to anyone else. And I know a lot of people say this all the time. They didn't give everybody the vision. He gave it to you.
He gave it to you. He
No
gave it to
matter no
you.
matter what it looks like. No
So
matter
what is going to be one of the giveaways now for those who are tuning in live or you're just coming in? We're interviewing Terrance Bonner about his book Determination Plus Core Values and how business owners or any type of business owner can actually set up their businesses in different ways to experience growth. What are going to be some of the giveaways that those who are registered for our showcase? What are going to be some of the giveaways that you're going to give away so that someone can experience this type of growth in their business?
so the giveaway is, of course, I'm giving away one of my books. And also I'm giving away a 30-minute discovery call.
Yes. Yes, yes. Okay, so guys, listen, in order to be entered into that, you have to make sure that you are registered. And I'm going to put that link in the comments. Make sure that you are registered for Beyond the Book Media's Author Showcase because that is the only way. Listen, I see Ivy says God didn't call a conference call, He gave you the vision. If God gave it, that settles it. Yes, Ivy. And then I see Crystal who says, create your own lane. Listen, Terrance, I'm sure that you and I could go on and have this long conversation about your amazing book. But before I let you go, where can the audience, those who are watching live or those who will catch this on the replay, where can they find you?
So they can find me at thebonnerinstitute.com. You can purchase the book from there, where you will get an autographed copy from me, or it is on Amazon as well. And one last thing, I am want to announce that my book just received an award just 2 days ago. So I'm so excited about that. So yes.
Yes, excellent job. Congratulations. And guys, thebonnerinstitute.com as well as your Instagram is all located inside of the comments. Thank you so much, Terrance, for being here. Thank you for going with the vision that was given to you. And even in a female dominated industry, you created your own lane, and it just seems like God is just blowing on it. So keep doing what you're doing. And we thank you for creating this amazing workbook that's going to help entrepreneurs scale, grow, and put systems inside of their business, right? So that they can experience the growth. And we see Faith, Wisdom, and Leadership says, congrats to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so
So
much for being here.
much.
Thank you again so much for being here. All right, guys, was that amazing? A workbook that literally gives you a play by play step on systems inside, outside, how to hire, the questions to ask, even a financial advisor, a CPA, and even who else you decide that you want to put on your team. This is a workbook that you want to make sure that you get. Now, if you want to be entered in for the drawing to get a free signed copy, make sure that you are registered at www.beyondthebookmedia.com/Arthur Showcase. I am your host, Ramisha Nicole. This is my final interview of the night. On the next interview, we have Miss Crystal, who is going to be interviewing our next author. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you on the next interview.